Most people think that they know Knoxville after a quick weekend visit or a Zillow scroll. But I can tell you, after living here for 3 years, there might be some things that might surprise you. In this video, we're going to break down what Knoxville does really well, the things that might surprise a transplant after that honeymoon phase is over with, and the different parts of Knoxville that might fit your different lifestyles. We're Mark and Kelli Brewer with the Epic Outcomes team, powered by eXp. And just like you, Knoxville caught our attention. We moved here from Texas 3 years ago. So we know what it's like to be in your shoes, and we can absolutely help you. Also, feel free to download our relocation guide, as it will tell you a lot of different things that you'd like to know before moving to Knoxville.
All right, so having lived in Knoxville for the last couple of years, there's a lot that I've learned. And it starts with Knoxville is not just Knoxville. Knoxville is a collection of different neighborhoods. You can't just stick it all in one bucket. The one thing that you can say is it makes life feel really manageable. Having come from a much bigger city, this was a step back to my childhood growing up in South Louisiana in a college town, knowing that we had government headquarters, we had a major university, but we also had lots of suburban neighborhoods. We had developed inner areas that felt urban and yet weren't a big city by any means. We had plenty of access to the outdoors, and we had lots going on without feeling like we were just getting run over. Knoxville has that feel. And that's one of the reasons it was at the top of my list when I thought about moving to somewhere that I knew would have that appeal for me, Kelli, and our family. Over the last couple of years, I have watched Knoxville continue to grow. And I don't think that's going to stop. But you can say that of a lot of places around the U.S., especially the ones that are really appealing and that offer a great deal for families, both from an economic and a social stance. This is an area that has low tax rates, no state income tax, and a great culture. If there's any one thing that I found here, and again, this may not be the same for everybody, but for me, I felt my stress levels go down and my opportunity to feel like part of a community go up. And that's not to say you don't get those things in other places, but Knoxville does have that feel. Like I said before, Knoxville is actually made up of a lot of different pockets. And that means that there's a lot of different people that it's going to appeal to. In fact, I would say it can appeal to just about any walk of life. I mean, if you're looking for a more urban feel, we may not be a Dallas, a New York, a Los Angeles, but we have a growing downtown arts, music, and food scene that I think has come a long way and continues to push. We're seeing more and more activity down there. And if you want that urban feel, between the near side on the South Shore and then in and around Old City, downtown, you can absolutely get that urban feel and plenty of social activities. If you're here because you want a little more funky, laid back feel, then guess what? Traversing across the river and getting into South Knox puts you right in the urban forest with the quarries, the mountain biking trails, the up and coming breweries and restaurants along that funky art scene along the river, and then access quickly to the south into Seymour and beyond into the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. You're going to get that really nice, comfortable lifestyle where you've got access to the city, but it feels a little more laid back. You're going to deal with some older areas, but also some level of urbanization. So you get a nice cross if you're looking in South Knox. If you're here for what a lot of people come here for, which is suburban lifestyles, well, you can start as far into the city as Sequoia Hills, which is absolutely idyllic, but comes with the price tag, or you can start scooting out to West Hills, Farragut, where we live, which we absolutely love, Hardin Valley, and then other areas pocketed all throughout there, including the broad expanse of Bearden. If you're looking to come to Knoxville because you like a lot of what people think of as older East Tennessee, a little bit more land, maybe with a little bit older houses, that quiet feel where you can get into the city, but you don't have to be part of it, then Carnes, Powell, lots of these areas are going to be relatively appealing to you. Maybe you want something that feels like a small town, but is close enough to the city. Maybe you should be looking in and around Fountain City. This used to be the getaway for Knoxvillians a long time ago, and now it's really part of our inner core. And then go out beyond the confines of what really is Knox and Knox County. Maybe you're here because you have opportunities with going research, or you're going to be out at Y12 or the Oak Ridge National Laboratories, one of the many businesses that's continued to expand in that area. Maryville, Alcoa. Alcoa gets its name, from the large aluminum company that basically put it on the map. If you're going to be in and around the airport, or maybe you're part of those services, you're going to be in that Maryville, Alcoa area. Maryville has grown tons, and while that may upset some people, it's quite appealing for others because it continues to grow in its culture, restaurants, outdoor living, and still gives you fairly quick access into Knoxville and the University of Tennessee Medical Center. Let's say you're here for lake life. Well, as we start to scoot out towards Lennar City, Loudoun, Harriman, Kingston, these are all areas that aren't distinctly Knoxville, but they do tend to depend on Knoxville, and those have some really great high-end developments. Or if you're willing to step back off the water, you can find larger acreage positions. Regardless of what you're really looking for, you're going to get access to the outdoors. And that's one of the most appealing things about Knoxville. You're surrounded by lakes, you're surrounded by water, you're surrounded by wildlife, whether you like it or not. You on any given day can run into deer, you could run into bears. There's so much going on here. At the same time, you're going to be in the more urban settings, dealing with less of that, but a very quick jaunt to wherever you want to be from an outdoor lifestyle standpoint. If you're looking for retirement communities, we've got that. Tellico Village is one of the largest you'll ever find. It's a city unto itself. In all of these situations, you're going to find plenty of access to the outdoors. There's so much here, each that has levels of different culture and feel to them. But as a whole, the Knoxville community really joins together and is proud of its city and of its area. No, you're not going to know every neighbor because this is a growing town and there are people who move in and out. But certainly we're seeing more come to the area than we're ever seeing exit. From that standpoint, there's a wide variety of churches, clubs, outdoor activity groups, civic associations. There are numerous different ways to get involved and grow your community. And if you need help with that, we're more than happy to direct you towards the groups and organizations that might be of appeal to you. The cost of living here is what makes it a buyer's dream. Now, I'm not going to pretend that it hasn't gone up. It's gone up almost everywhere in America. We saw rates drop down to nothing, and that pushed prices up. They generally work on the inverse. But along with that, there simply hasn't been as much building across our nation. So there's a lot of areas that are high demand that haven't kept up with homes. Now, as of late, we are seeing that start to soften up. We're seeing more active buyers in the market, but we're also seeing more inventory and more homes with slightly longer average days on market. And that's providing a better balance and more opportunity for folks. Are you going to get the deals that people saw 5, 6, 7 years ago? Probably not. I don't think that with the way that Knoxville has grown, that we're going to see backsliding in prices generally. But that being said, when you add the total cost of living together, this is a really appealing place to be.
So here in Knoxville, the city has seen exponential growth. And with that, the growth just cannot keep up with the infrastructure. So it's really important to know what your commute might look like, where are the kids' schools at. We tell people go ahead and drive that during peak hours when you have your visit here to Knoxville, because living one exit over could seriously affect your lifestyle and how frustrating it might be day to day to get around the city. One thing that might surprise you is that driving is part of daily life here. So if you're coming from a big city center like New York or Los Angeles that has a really strong public transport system, that's really not Knoxville. We do have a transport system here, but it is very limited. So don't expect, if you're living outside of the city or really even in some parts of the city, that you can rely on that for a daily commute. It is extremely limited here. You will want a budget to have a car here. Also, Knoxville as a whole is not very walkable. Now, let me break that down. When I say it's not very walkable, I mean that it's not walkable as a whole for the whole entire city or through the suburbs. It is walkable in certain areas. So for instance, if you live downtown, you're going to be able to walk to a bunch of different restaurants and theaters and events. Really, by the downtown baseball stadium, it's very walkable there as well. And then if you move out to the suburbs, certain suburbs are actually very walkable. So for instance, Farragut has a greenway system. And so a lot of the neighborhoods are interconnected. So you could walk from one neighborhood to another. There's a lot of biking trails, so you can get on your bike and get to places. Hardin Valley also has a lot of that as well. But if you go out to more of the less populated areas, the not so urban areas, you will absolutely need a car because you're not going to be able to walk to a lot of different things. So that's just something to keep in mind. If that's important to you, then we really need to zone in on just those little pockets that are very walkable here in Knoxville. And Mark and I can help you out with that. Another thing that might surprise you once you've been living here in Knoxville for a while is the weather. It is gorgeous. We have all 4 seasons. But I will tell you, humidity is real here. Now, that's all relative because I used to live in Louisiana and I used to live in Texas. And so in the summer times, it felt like you could just like swim in the air. It is definitely not like that. But I will tell you, during the summertime, it can get humid and it can get hot around here. Winters are pretty mild. We will have sometimes that freak snow. It doesn't sit on the ground for a long time. Allergy season is a thing here, but you pop your allergy medication and get it taken care of. But if you do suffer with allergies, you may want to take that into consideration. Again, very manageable. So, one of the reasons why people do move here to Knoxville is because of the weather. So they can take advantage of all of those outdoor activities that you can experience here. But you just might be surprised. The summer can get a little hot and humid. And so that's just something to take into consideration.
All right. So who is Knoxville right for? I think at its surface, the simplest way to say is Knoxville is a great place for a lot of different types of people, but generally not the extremes. We aren't really hardcore right, and we're certainly not really hardcore left. If you want to know the truth, I think we're a balanced mix of people with diverse views who probably lean a little bit right center. But for the fact of the matter is, we're also pretty tolerant, and we really want people who simply want to be here and be part of the community. We want to support one another, and we want to see things move forward. Now, how does that look neighborhood by neighborhood? Well, probably won't come as any surprise. Different areas tend to have slightly different attitudes. People who are looking for good schools, reasonable commutes, newer construction are probably going to generally be focused on the west side of Knoxville. For those willing to deal with a slightly longer commute, but the same type of small town feel outside of Knoxville, you'll see people in Alcoa, Maryville. Again, if you can live anywhere, live somewhere beautiful with no state income tax. So depending upon what their personal preferences are, you may find people with remote working opportunities, or maybe they have a job where they only need to be in office twice a week. They're going to adapt to whatever it is that they want in a home. The other thing here is because of the different activities, the different areas, the different price points, you're going to see a lot of diversity. And so buyers who are looking for an opportunity for their own personal transition in life, maybe you are moving towards that long-term relationship. Maybe you're ready to start having kids. Maybe you're ready to kick your kids out of the house and be an empty nester. Quite frankly, we can appeal to everyone and appeal to everyone in different ways. So the fact of the matter is, people who are looking for a logical progression through those various life stages, but in a community that they love, find it very appealing.
So let's discuss who might want to think twice about moving over here to Knoxville. If you are expecting that big city energy 24/7 and that just go, go, go all the time, Knoxville kind of shuts down around midnight or so. And you're not going to find much to do beyond that or straight into the night. So if you're that night owl that wants things 24/7, it may not be the city for you. If you're planning on moving to Knoxville and just depending on public transit to get around all of the time, one, we would really need to zone in on just those few pockets that you can just constantly take public transportation in Knoxville. But it may not be the city for you. You might want to find a bigger city that has a really robust public transit. And if you plan on moving to suburbs, you absolutely will want to have your car because Knoxville on the whole is much more of a driving city. Plus, we have so many cool destinations within an hour or 2 hours drive from here that you're going to want to hop in the car and do day trips. Another thing that a lot of people Mark and I talk with that people find surprising is that Knoxville is not really cheap anymore. I think that's something that's happening just all across the United States, especially coming out of the 3% interest rates and that very highly competitive market. It has raised housing prices here in Knoxville quite a bit. So we talk to a lot of people that think that they can get acreage and, a really decent house. And then they're surprised that maybe they need to up their budget by quite a bit to actually get what they are looking for. With the prices going up, you kind of have to decide, okay, what is the most important to me? Do I want to be close to all of the amenities, to the great restaurants and all of the live music venues? If that's really important to you, then you may need to consider a smaller square footage home. If acreage is what's important to you and maybe a bigger house, then you might have to say, oh, well, maybe I'm okay with driving a little bit further to get to all of those big city amenities because the land is more important to me and being out in nature is more important to me in the first place. So unfortunately, if you do want to live in Knoxville, you kind of have to weigh both of those options and then figure out what is most important to you.
Okay, we've been bragging on this area and this city quite a bit to this point in the video. Need to be honest though, there's areas where we fall short. Now, does it mean they're permanently going to be shortfalls? No. Like everybody else, like every other place, we can use some improvement. Here's my thoughts on what we can do better in Knoxville and what's going to probably change for the better long term. First of all, we have seen significant growth in this area. And because we stay a low tax base, we're not collecting as much money, sometimes feel like we're a little bit behind on infrastructure. I know there's a lot coming our way. There's plenty that's been done. But the fact of the matter is, things happen with a budget in mind. I do love the fact that we tend to be a budget conscious group here, but at the same time, there's probably some things that we could get done that would help ease a little bit of the burden. I know from a civic standpoint that we're starting to progress those things, but it does feel like we probably could use a little more help in that area. And the fact of the matter is, we're just going to have to spend more time, over time, improving that. And some of it is simply going to be reallocating where our growth areas are to get a better balanced input on that. I think we're making progress, but as far as I'm concerned, we're probably a little bit behind there. I love our downtown quarter. I love what's happening just east where the baseball stadium has popped up, and I love what's happening on the south waterfront. But the fact of the matter is, once you get away from those core areas where we're seeing condensed urban mixed-use opportunities, we don't see as much of that. Now, there are projects going forward. Biddle Farms out here in Farragut, that's been a nice addition. We're seeing a project that should be kicking off in Oak Ridge. It's going to cover multiple city blocks over the next couple of years. It's going to have that mixed retail and urban living feel to it. I think more and more of this is happening, but it does feel like we're behind trend on that a bit compared to some other cities that have been a bit more progressive in their ability to do micro-urbanization in some of their suburban areas. That would be a great thing for us to advance. Again, it comes with money and it comes with desire. So the people have to chip in, the businesses have to see it, and there has to be an economic return for the developers. But from my personal standpoint, I would love to see some more of that because I think it would contribute to people feeling very comfortable and probably less traffic on the road, not feeling that they had to travel to other areas to get what they're lacking in some of their suburban neighborhoods. So putting some money, time, and effort into that tends to bring forth more value for the citizens who are already here. So let's help each other out. Let's get some of these things moved forward. So with that, I'm going to let Kelli take back over and talk about what the future of living in Knoxville could and should look like.
So let's talk about the future of living in Knoxville. I will tell you the population growth here in Knoxville is not going to slow down. I mean, it caught your attention, right? City of Knoxville caught Mark and I's attention as well a couple of years ago. So you're not alone. It's catching a lot of people's attention. We field calls on a daily basis of people that want to know more about Knoxville, that want to retire here in Knoxville, that have targeted this city because of quality of life, because of the affordability. And it's looking good to a lot of people here. So what does that mean specifically for you? It does mean that the housing market is getting more and more competitive here. It does mean that Knoxville is experiencing some growth pains. What all of this growth does mean for you is that you might want to focus a lot more on location and not only on price. Because in the next couple of years, commute patterns may change. The way that a certain part of the city looks may change. So because the city, again, is growing so much, you may need to decide between convenience and having a little bit more space to spread out. So in my opinion, the future of Knoxville is going to favor the right buyers and the smart buyers. So you really need to think about this as a long-term move. If you're targeting a specific area, then go ahead and do some research. Are there some big capital projects planned for that area that might change some traffic patterns? Or maybe it may change the pricing in the neighborhood that you're targeting. Are there going to be school improvements that you're going to want to know about that are going to happen? These are all things that you need to take into consideration when you are making a move to Knoxville. Not only Knoxville, but to any new city that you may not know about as well. And Mark and I can absolutely help you out with that. Again, go ahead and download our relocation guide because it's going to have some great information for you.
All right, so this is a little bit of a recap. I'm just jumping back in here. Let's talk about what are the best areas for you based upon the lifestyle you want to live. And by no means are these definitive, but these are to get you back into the mode of, okay, there's a lot of great information I've picked up over the video up to this point in time. Remind me, Mark, where should I be focusing my search? If you are looking for urban feel, if you want walkability, university, downtown, any one of these, you're probably going to be looking at that core area of near North Knox, in and around downtown, maybe the South Waterfront. Those areas are going to get you the shortest, most available commute, being in the middle of it all. If you want outdoor access without really having to leave the Knoxville area, look in some of the western areas that run along the river. You can look at South Waterfront as well, or skipping down a few miles towards Seymour. If you were like us when we came here, and the paramount number one thing that you needed was to be in the right areas, at the right schools, with that suburban feel, it was going to be the best thing you felt for you and your children, you're going to look in these core west neighborhoods. Farragut, Hardin Valley, 2 of your tops. Bearden, very, very good. Living over in West Hills, that's going to get you that same Bearden setup. There's plenty of other. You may want to go as far down as Maryville, but remember, when you're dealing with Maryville, you have Alcoa, and you have Maryville City Schools, and then you have generally Blount County. If you are in that area, you need to know where you're defined and where you're headed, just to make sure that your kids are being routed into the schools that are your top preference. If you're going to be working out in Oak Ridge, hey, look, there's a lot that's developing out there. And the fact of the matter is, that is a school that is doing really well. And it's a really pretty area. And this doesn't mean that you can't look in Powell and Halls and some of these other areas, Carnes. So also really good options. Look, one of the things that I tell people, and if you've talked to me at all, or talked to Kelli, we're interested in finding people homes, not houses. And what do we mean by that? A home isn't just the building that you're living in or the yard or the acreage. It is the community. It is all the surroundings. It is the whole living experience. So if you're going to look in Knoxville, don't just start by looking for houses. Start by learning the area. Start by learning the systems. Come into town, spend a little time, drive around, check things out, figure out what feels good to you. I can promise you, in almost any one of these areas, you can find what you want. Just because we say that Farragut can be one of the pricier places to live doesn't mean we can't find you something for $400,000 to $500,000. It all depends on what you're willing to give and take to get everything that it is that you want, but prioritized. You're probably not going to get all 10 things that are on your checkbox list and still be at a cheap price and large acreage. But what we can do is we can figure out what area is the most appealing to you, what's going to feed into your lifestyle best, and then we tailor what it is that we think it can get you done in that range, in that budget.
So here's my honest final verdict after living here for 5 years in Knoxville. When we first got here, we were really pleased and happy with all of the beauty that surrounded us, especially regarding nature and the slower pace of life. What I have found surprising is there's actually a whole lot more going on in Knoxville than meets the eye. There's so many events and festivals, live music and Broadway shows. There's also a lot of great restaurants here, and Mark and I are still learning about all of the different things to do. However, you can do as much or as little as you want. It's one of those cities where you choose how you want to live. If you want that really laid back, slow lifestyle, absolutely, it's there for you. If you're one of these people who want to be really involved and go out to all of the events in the city, and then you can do that as well. So for Mark and I and the boys, it is such that perfect mix of nature, laid back lifestyle, but then when we want to go out and do something special as a couple or as a family, there's so many options available to us here in Knoxville.
All right, we've talked on and on about what it's like, what our experience has been, why we still love it here, why we think it's a great place to be and a great place for people to continue to move. There are people who come here and they regret it. It generally starts with not really understanding Knoxville to begin with. Don't come with preconceived notions as to what is going on here. Come and figure it out for yourself. Make a visit. Come see what the relative appeal is, but make sure that you give yourself adequate opportunity to learn the area. Because it's not just Knoxville, it's all the surrounding area. This is a great place to visit. And then you're going to have a better idea of whether this is the right place for you. Again, if you're looking for more information, check out our relocation guide. Sign up and get our monthly newsletter. We're constantly talking about what's going on in the city, what's coming to the area, and not just here, but also over in the Smokies, because that has great relative appeal. Reach out, shoot us an email, whatever. We're here. We want to hear what your experience and expectations are, and we want to continue to share ours so that you can make the right decision. Knoxville is only the wrong decision if you weren't educated about it beforehand and you didn't understand what you're getting yourself into. Don't let that be you. We want to be here to help you do that. We're Mark and Kelli Brewer. We are the Epic Outcomes team at eXp Realty. Stick around, catch a couple other videos. We dig into more areas and more opportunities in this area. We hope that you enjoy this information. We look forward to talking to you soon.